There's a reason why the David and Goliath story has lasted for thousands of years. Hello, welcome to Dangerous Policy, a channel aimed at intelligent people wanting to discuss important issues facing life and society. My name is Crispin, and today I'm going to discuss how Lithuania, this country of fewer than 3 million people, has infuriated the leadership in Beijing by having the temerity to open a reciprocal relationship office with Taiwan.
Office in Europe to use the name Taiwan. Taiwan-European relations is one of our main focuses. Using the name Taiwan in our representative office can further allow our European friends to know more clearly that we represent 23.5 million Taiwanese.
Taiwan, of course, is considered to be part of China by the CCP, and the Chinese Communist Party does not accept any country recognizing Taiwan as a country. Lithuania doesn't, but Lithuania has opened formal diplomatic relations with Taiwan, and Taiwan has opened its office in Vilnius. So isolated politically is Taiwan these days that it is its only office in all of Europe. China, the CCP, has retaliated by ending all rail freight between Beijing and Vilnius. It has ended all export permits of agricultural products, industries, any grains and milk products. The China Daily news outlet, a propaganda arm media outlet of the CCP, is calling for a coordinated retaliation with Russia against Lithuania. So at the moment, Lithuania's two-way trade with China is minuscule. However, Lithuania's economy is highly dependent on Russia, and China is now leaning on Russia, attempting to have Moscow use its leverage over Lithuania to punish it over Lithuania's stance on Taiwan. It's very interesting. At the time of this recording, Russia hasn't responded to these calls, and it's unclear what's happening behind closed doors. But it does seem as though China is using its influence over Russia to try and get it to punish those with whom it has relations that China does not have the same degree of leverage. It's an interesting space for Russia to be in because it means it harming its own interests for the sake of China's own territorial integrity. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes because Russia itself has been increasingly nervous about being the junior partner in a Sino-Russia relationship. And this is a clear case in which Russia doesn't have a bone in this fight. It has no interest in having diplomatic row with the Europeans over an issue like Taiwan. Nevertheless, it also has an interest in not pissing off its Chinese masters and therefore is in a really difficult diplomatic position vis-a-vis Lithuania. Not only that, there are claims that Lithuania has done this, and I don't agree with these claims, but there are claims that Lithuania has done this in order to crystallize for the Americans the need to protect both the Baltic states and Eastern Asia. That is, by opening diplomatic ties with Taiwan, Lithuania is binding itself to American policy vis-a-vis China. Therefore, its credibility with American allies, such as those in the Baltic states, become relevant when it comes to Russian aggression. Now, this is an interesting idea, but I don't believe it's that sophisticated. I think Lithuania just is unique in that it has strong values. It has a values-based foreign policy. It understands what it's like to exist under totalitarian occupation. It views the Chinese Communist Party for what it really is, which is an authoritarian dictatorship, and doesn't believe that democracies like Taiwan should be subsumed and isolated just because of the material interests of other countries. It is that principled policy position that has made Lithuania strike out and say, look, no, we don't care how much money you offer us. It is unacceptable for you to punish, fellow democracies such as Taiwan because they won't succumb to your authoritarian rule. And this has so incensed the CCP, and this turned them into an obvious bully. They have attacked this tiny country in a very vicious way, trying to get its own allies to attack them as well, because they realize that Lithuania's act of defiance could inspire others. And this is the most important thing. If others take what Lithuania is doing and go, yes, we believe that principled moral position is what we should adopt for ourselves, then China is in serious trouble. Taiwan begins to develop more and more relations with other countries, as it already is with Japan and India and the United States. But other countries that do have a much greater trade relationship, like Australia, like the United States, the EU as a whole, it can't punish everybody without hurting its own interests. So it's hoping that it is sending a message to others, say, look, if you act out against what we see as our own territorial integrity, we will retaliate economically against you. And we're seeing this in our own channel. We've had, the sort of pro-CCP bots attacking, Lithuanians on this channel, basically saying, this is a warning to everybody else. Well, there are different lessons others could take from this, rather than just, if we defy the CCP, we will be punished. It might be, we all need to band together to stand up for Lithuania in order to ensure that China can't bully the rest of the world. And that is hopefully the message that people take away from it. And it has for some already. There has been a joint letter signed by parliamentary representatives from 13 countries plus the European Commission, saying, look, we stand shoulder to shoulder with Lithuania. We will resist any attempt by the CCP to bully Lithuania merely for exercising its own independent foreign policy and standing up for the rights of free peoples. And this is something that, of course, I wholeheartedly support as well. The relationship between Lithuania and Taiwan is developing rapidly. Lithuania has donated, I think, 20,000 doses of vaccine to Taiwan because Lithuania's vaccination rates are going quite well. Lithuania has managed to raise consciousness across the world in terms of the true price to be paid by deepening your economic relationship with China. And this is something that is a real lesson for others when it comes to Australia as well. So Australia 20 years ago, we had this compact where it was a very self-serving policy in which we would trade with China under the belief that this would lead to a burgeoning middle class in China that would demand political freedom to go along with its economic freedom. Therefore, the best thing that we could do is to make everybody rich, i.e. trade with them and make ourselves rich, because that would lead to democracy in China. Obviously, history has proven that false. Not only has China become more authoritarian and also more assertive, it is, Hong Kong has basically lost to China. The South China Sea is being militarized. The internment of a million Uyghur Muslims, the Great Firewall of China and all the tech censorship, the social credit system. So China is becoming more and more authoritarian, not to mention the change to the Chinese constitution ensuring that Xi Jinping is there for life. All of this is going in the wrong direction. But more than that, China has proven that it is possible to have both economic growth without political liberalization, something that wasn't thought to be possible in that unipolar moment with the collapse of the Soviet Union. The spread of American liberal democracy was thought to be inevitable across the world because it was necessary for economic growth, and that is not the case. So Lithuania is sending a clear signal that there is a true price to be paid for deepening your relationship with China, and that price comes at the expense of your own policy, your own sovereignty, your own values, and Lithuania is the first country to make a clear and principled position on that basis. And the risk for China, and it is a major risk, is that others learn from Lithuania's example and stand shoulder to shoulder beside it. So I think China has actually been a bit short-sighted in its retaliation against Lithuania because It has crystallized in the minds of many others that, yes, China is a bully and it isn't a mature great power. And Lithuania has exposed it for what it really is, an emperor with no clothes. So kudos to the Lithuanians for doing that. And I think that this isn't some Machiavellian strategic plot by Vilnius to embed its relationship with the United States vis-a-vis Russia. I think in many ways it's just actually going to be embarrassing the United States because it's showing what a real principled position can do. And it's not just embarrassing the US. I think the Vatican also should take something from this. So the Holy See, the Catholic Church, has been deepening its relationship with the CCP on the basis that it will be allowed to proselytize to the Chinese Catholics who have spread rapidly across the country. And it has done a Faustian bargain. It is allowing the CCP, for the first time, no other country has done this, it's allowing the CCP to veto the appointment of bishops by the Pope. So in the Vatican system, the Pope appoints bishops, end of story. And governments who are allowing Catholics to exist in their country have no say over that. Well, for the first time, there will be a government who has that power. And Lithuania, as a largely Catholic country, should use its influence with the Vatican as well and say, look, if you allow the CCP to veto the bishops that are appointed, then the bishops that come up through the ranks of the Catholic Church, and if you have bishops, you'll have cardinals, perhaps even a Chinese Pope, these could easily be partial to the CCP. And given the history of the Catholic Church over the past 100 years on some of these issues, I think this is a really important opportunity for them to change course. I mean, I think of John Paul II specifically, who was a staunchly anti-communist Polish Pope who stood up for the rights of free peoples in the Eastern Bloc, and I think inspired a lot of people within Lithuania, as well as Poland and other places. I think that the Vatican should take a lesson from its own history and stand up for freedom and justice for all. So that's basically all. I'll continue to follow this subject. I'm very interested in how the Lithuania-Taiwan relationship develops. I'm interested in how other countries stand shoulder to shoulder or not with Lithuania, and if some countries break ranks, if some countries are lining up with the CCP against Lithuania on this issue, I'll be sure to let you know about it. Otherwise, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We do cover these important subjects a lot. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Goodbye.